Good day. Excuse me. Good day and good evening, and welcome back to Mentorship Live with me, Chaiji, but you can just call me Kai. Tonight, as usual, some mentor roulettes, probably around 10, and probably a little bit more. But you know, about 3 hours at about 10 is the other two targets. To somewhat continue a little bit of our journey through the jobs that got some changes, you could say. I've been messing a little bit with White Mage, and while it isn't much, the plenary indulgence change and the starting a duty with resources change is surprisingly impactful on how it feels to do a duty as White Mage. So I think we'll do some White Mage. Now, calling it now, in before we only get duties at below level 70. So plenary indulgence isn't an option. And you know Aflato's misery. That basically is what happened when we went Gunbreaker the day after the patch dropped. We went to mess with Gnashing Fang and Bloodfest, and not a single duty was past level 70. That was a shame. We'll see. We have had some variety as healer before, so I guess we will see. Now, with that said, hey Gears, hey Tanama, hey Evis, hey Shaq, hey Naomi, hey Dunson, hey Seros, hey Lana, hey Aradel, hey Rost, hey Kaj, hey Sylvia, hey Liam, hey Toby, hey Zaf, hey Sally, hey Nox, hey Flims, hey Kay, hey Milicia, hey Ender. Hope you're all doing very well. And to your question, Shaq, yes, my parents got me a new hoodie. What do you think? Pink out of 10. It's not pink. I don't know if it can get pinker than this. It might be the light that's making it look not that pink. Not neon. That is true. It's not neon. I guess that's true. I'll say Tongue and Galsel and Bronto. Hope you're doing well. Ilana's calling at least one M9 to 12. It could be. I guess we will see. And thank you for celebrating 21 months as part of the Cult of the Pink, Bronto. Thanks so much for support. And good Yule to you too. Yeah, let's I will queue when it says 55. And welcome back to the Cult of the Pink, Sylvia. Thank you so much for support, and I hope you enjoy the emotes. Whoop. Instant queue. So funny thing that happened this morning. Oh boy. A funny thing that happened this morning, or afternoon I guess, or noon, thereabouts, is that I wanted to do expert roulette. I did a few other things before that, because the thing I was doing was filling in my Wondrous Tales, and a level 100 dungeon was on it, as usual, so I wanted to do that. It said tank in need. I sat in queue for like a few minutes. Then I jumped out of queue, switched to healer, queued, and it still said tank in need. Sat there for a few minutes, nothing happened. Then I hopped out of queue, went to DPS, it was still tank in need, sat as DPS for a few minutes. Then I withdrew again. In the same moment that it switched to DPS in need, I queued again. And nothing happened. It just, in all of the cases, it sat on retrieving information for a very long time. Then eventually I switched to tank again and queued while it still said DPS in need. Eventually, after a couple minutes, it said I was number 11 in queue. Then I switched to DPS. Sat there for a few minutes again. And then I switched to healer and got an insta-Q. Weird. Anyway, I'll queue when it says 36. And hey, Agent Monica, and Zipzap, and Ilya, and Kiwi. Hope you're doing well. Sounds like everyone had... I don't know, but something was weird. Yeah, that's what I thought, Brontom, which is why it confused me that that it took so long. Hey Dan, hope you're doing well. Who needs a DPS anyway? I'm glad to hear it, Danzen. Womp. Thank you, Monica. Onto the armor only stream. I'm telling you, we kinda almost sorta had that one ages ago. Ooh, Hell's Lid. Well, at least we have plenary indulgence here. We have some options. Hey, looks. Hope you're doing well. I guess I'll just run with you until you stop moving. I'm gonna stun them here. I think the extra mitigation on Plenary Indulgence makes me a lot better about actually using it in time. Because you see the ability incoming and then you're like, oh, I should use Plenary Indulgence. And then you can like, you don't have to be like, oh, now that the damage has happened, I have to both weave Plenary Indulgence, but not only that, but I now also have to find time to then use, like, I have to use Plenary Indulgence and then AoE heal. Now you can just like Plenary Indulgence preemptively and then the exact next GCD after the damage lands, you can just send Rapture and you're good. What do you mean, Regal Star? Isn't what because of that? As far as we know, the way that the roll in need system works is that if there is it's like an if statement. If there isn't enough tanks, it will look for tanks. If there's plenty of tanks, then it'll check if there's enough healers. If there's enough healers, then and only then will it say that it is missing DPS, which means that usually it's saying that they need DPS is not as a whoops. I might have been able to save them there, but I was hoping that they would just dodge. Say, Bobby, hope you're doing well. But yeah, essentially, if it says DPS in need, then what usually happens is that the role in need thing updates every few minutes. So if you see DPS in need and you didn't see it right when it's swapped, then it's not DPS in need. It's like, it's fake, it's false, it's not gonna happen. Because there's already DPS that jumped in. That's true, Naomi. If you queue while there is an in-need bonus present, even if the in-need changes, if you stay put and you queued while you were being offered a bonus, then you will not get cheated. You will get your bonus, even if it is no longer offered by the time your queue actually pops. So if you really want that, then just stay. Just stay put and wait for the queue to pop. Exactly, the bonus gets snapshotted. Yeah, I don't know, Regalstar, if there's no instant queue for anyone. Like, my best guess, and this maybe should be implied from the fact that I said that everything that I queued as sat on the retrieving information stage for a really long time. I think what happened was that the server was having a moment. And there was possibly plenty of everything, and because the server was having a moment, it was, you know, it had a lot of tanks and healers that were not getting a Q pop because it wasn't doing it, and that's why it ended up being DPS in need, even though no one were getting Q pops. Hey, Golden Banana, hope you're doing well. Redmaster says, seeing the name of this dungeon makes me wonder if hell exists in 14. And if it's actually worse than the Void. That's a good question. I'm going to assume, based on the religions of the game, that not only does hell exist, there are 7 of them. Because, as you know, spoiler for something in Endwalker, belief alone can make something real in 14. You don't need anything but belief. Isn't reincarnation canon? Sure. But apparently not everyone gets reincarnated. Again, Aeshiascope. We have something there. But I think it's a case of good question. It's a little bit complicated, and it seems like what's true sometimes depends on what they need for the story. Say Matthew and Andrew and Eatered. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, as is known, many times have we heard someone refer to the 7 hells. So not only would there be 1, there would be 7. And their engines run on pure dynamis or something. I'm not sure on that one, but wouldn't that be crazy? Huh? Looked like I stood in that. Okay. Is hell where the DPS go after dying from greed? That's a good question. I don't think so. And then, well, that's a sad divine benison. Hey Ian, hope you're doing well. Congratulations, Ian. Ian beat M8S. Hey. Congratulations, Andrew. That's awesome. Some gamers. Hey Mogustabby, hope you're doing well. That's been a bit. And hey Jesse, hope you're doing well as well. I will queue when it says 43. Sound of stone compared to glare. Well, there's a bunch of different sounds. Glare 1 and Glare 3 just even sound different. I feel like, I think that the sound effects and the look of Stone 1 is a huge waste because you lose it before Sastasha. Or rather, you lose it at the level of Sastasha. So the only way to have Stone 1 is doing fates at like super low level or certain guild tests. Look, a new dungeon. I'm glad to hear that, Jesse. This is going to get real exciting. I wonder if they are aware. Of the fact that there is no longer a crystal to hide behind. It doesn't seem to matter. I think we're fine. That's what I said. They just said I was not prepared for the damage reduction to be gone. I mean, I did the same pull when I got here as Gunbreaker, like very recently. I'm like, well, maybe it's fine. Let's see. That was kind of fine. How's Adrian? Hope you're doing well. And hey Vince, hope you're doing well as well. Blah. The trick is to rush to the boss. I'm just saying, the removal of the crystals here and also the walls, or the doors, has made this particular pull elevate from being basically, you know, whatever, because you take basically no damage while standing in the crystal's light, to being a contender for one of the hardest wall-to-wall pulls in the game, because you can pull all of that, all of the stuff we just did. You can pull the whole thing and the boss now. So suddenly it's competing with the likes of the Stone Vigil pulls. Where before it was like, arguably, the Crystal Light pulls could be considered the one of, if not the easiest Giga pull in the game. As a floating ghost. Hope you're doing well. Something funny about Ismail Darkhold losing its uniqueness. This whole section is basically unchanged, but there is a very important reason for that. This section has already been simplified. This whole section, some of you may remember that there used to be like a whole lower floor down there that you could fall into, and if someone did, they died because there were mobs down there, and unless it was the tank, you wouldn't be able to make it back before you died. And even if you were the tank, it was probably just easier to die. The changes in Aurum Vale is that the yellow goop There's still some goop on the edge of the areas there, like over and about. But they've basically removed the weird yellow goop anywhere where it was on the main path of the dungeon. They also put a cast time on the tank busters for the first and the last boss. And they made it so that you can only eat one fruit at most every 20 seconds on the first boss. I think they've also added they've removed a cast bar from the targeted bird burrows on the last boss, I think. Not 100% sure on that, but it also feels like they made it do way less damage, which is weird. The main thing that really stood out to me in all that is that the addition of a cast bar to the first boss's tank buster means that it takes too long for it to get through its sequence of mechanics, which then means that it doesn't use the dot thing often enough. So your average party can basically ignore the fruits entirely. And the only thing they'd need to change to make that not a problem is just make that ability fire more frequently. In exchange, fruits respawn instantly. Well, I mean, that is also a little bit boring. I would say overall, Aurum Vale didn't change that much, because the goop on the floor was like, as soon as you had been there more than once, the goop was basically just a nuisance that was in the way. And even if you were there for the first time, which should be pretty obvious, don't stand in that. And yeah, they have indeed removed a few packs. And they also moved some packs a little bit. But I would say Aurum Vale is like, they made the, once you have experienced it once, then the main things that really stand out that have changed is the thing about the first boss. A little bit with the last boss, but it's mostly the first boss that really feels weird and different to me. Aside from that, I mean, them removing the side packs and making the patrol essentially static in the middle part of the dungeon is irrelevant, because once you have done the dungeon once or twice, you're not going to pull the side packs. Like, they might as well not exist. Granted, the aesthetic part of them being there could matter. Like, I can see that. I'm just saying, it's not that bad. But it is weird that they had to change all those things about packs. Shrug. And Grim Halo on this boss having a cast bar, I would call an improvement. I actually find it weird that they didn't put a cast bar or anything on the tank buster. The reason why I think it's a good thing that they put a cast bar on Grim Halo is because without a cast bar, it's a healer mechanic. It doesn't matter, because you can't do anything about it. It'll just do damage to the tank and whoever's in melee range. And you just ignore it. You just, okay. With a cast bar and a telegraph, you actually dodge it. I think they boosted the damage on it as well, so it's actually a mechanic that you can do something about. It's also the reason why I'm like, why does the tank buster not have a cast bar? Because it not having one means that the only thing the tank can do about it is click a defensive cooldown and hope that it happens to line up right. And while that's all well and good, like that is a skill that you can master, it's not something that matters after like a Realm Reborn. Like around Heavensward, if not at least Stormblood, bosses just don't do that anymore. Like not really. So it's like, you know, what about the removal of the Dark Poles in the final phase? I mean, that's again slightly more of an aesthetic thing, but they just dropped like 4 dark pools and then you just step aside and then they might as well not be there. Me here thinking we can kill the boss first. And it cuts down to the very last hit. So with the side path removed, did the players who never did them automatically get the mapping achievement after the dungeon changed? What do you mean? What do you mean removed? They just removed the door. I'll say Indie Pigs. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, the whole bosses that do a tank buster with no warning is like, it's just not a thing they do very much anymore. Tank buster with no proper tell and no warning makes more, in my opinion, makes more sense as a tank mechanic in the context of a game where your mitigation is something that you're maintaining, not something that you click proactively so that it is active for damage incoming. Which is to say that Final Fantasy XIV is the wrong game for surprise tank busters, in my opinion. It's the correct type of tank buster, or it can be the correct type of tank buster for a game like Fellowship, where a crucial part of tanking is that you're maintaining your mitigation. You do have big defensive cooldown, but not like that. Not like that. Your main mitigation is you just maintaining a buff. And it's extra funny that the last boss in Zemail Darkhold didn't get a cast bar for its tank buster because both of the bosses that had a no warning tank buster in Aurum Vale got a cast bar on theirs. I'll say Shotakai, hope you're doing well. I will queue when it says 26. I don't know, Shurka, you missed a few roulettes, but that's it really. Ooh. It's Dungeon Night. It's Dungeon Night! Above level 70 duties are a myth. Yeah. Well, I called it. We'll be able to rewind to the start of the stream and hear me call it if we go through the entire stream and don't get a single level 70 plus duty. Well, we actually did get a level 70 duty. But nothing past that. You're in. Hope you're doing well. Ooh, marked B. It's a marked B! That's an interesting choice for mitigation. Well, eventually they remembered they have Rampart. I'm gonna tank by just having slightly more HP, guys. It's good, right? That'll do. Surely. Hey Joshua, hope you're doing well. Did you know that Astrologian can solo this boss? Synced. Yeah, if I recall correctly, I learned doing so that if I had the damage buff from my card, then I could almost kill one of those Vesps with just one dot. Almost. Very good stuns, though. Not a single mortal ray. Hey, Krang and Mo. Hope you're doing well. Since the Doom has got a cast bar, I don't need to have to learn what Doom is. The funny thing is, it always had a cast bar. It's just that before, the cast bar was so short that if you didn't basically guess when it was going to get cast, you would pretty much miss the timing every time. But I actually always had one. It's just that the cast bar was like less than 1 second. But yeah, you're correct that them increasing the cast time is what made it so easy to prevent it now. Is there a term for pulling every mob pack and also the boss? I think it's just a giga pull. Like in the same way that pulling a whole lot of mobs is a giga pull. Hey Boobamet, hope you're doing well. I mean, isn't Sunken Temple of Khan an optional dungeon? It is. Hmm. You need to do it to complete the Seeds of the Grand Company. Oh yeah, but that's optional. But yeah, indeed. Actually, if you're thinking about the hunting log, apparently there are, like, each company has distinct, different, specific, like, dungeon-specific mobs. By the way, what's going on there? Apparently I'm encumbered with one of the heads for a bit. Which means, I specifically recall that it is... that it's only one of the free companies that wanted specific cactuar from the Oasis part of Cotter's Cry. Cage fan, are you thinking of a Realm Reborn extremes? Like, can you name an extreme that you've watched a guide for that you wanted to queue for? Just name it. I know that some people in the chat will probably be like, what do you mean? Does that matter? The answer should be the same, no? I'll get to that. Also, ow. It's a map. Hope you're doing well as well. Warleader and Thorn March. Right. So. A lot of people don't understand the concept of wanting to do something for the sake of the challenge. And running an extreme unsynced will get you to the reward a lot faster. Obviously. So if they assume the reason why you want to do an extreme is to either A, get it out of your quest log, or B, because you want the mount or something from it, then both of those are solved more easily simply by doing them unsynced. Just done, right? Easy peasy. But if you want to do it specifically for the challenge, then doing it unsynced will not do that. Like, it straight up just won't. If it is a Realm Reborn extremes, specifically a Realm Reborn, then queuing for them should generally work. Within reason. You're probably going to be sitting in the queue for a while. You probably need to make sure you really think about when you're queuing, because there's going to be really few people available. So choosing a time where a lot of people are likely to queue is important to actually fill the party. And note that the only players that will land in the duty with you are other sprouts that are less likely than you to have watched a guide, because if they had watched a guide, they would probably have been told to not queue, just like you have. And the likelihood of them being told that and then queuing anyways is really low, so you're going to get more likely to have some kind of bad fellow sprouts that are underprepared, like very underprepared, and then mentors that may or may not feel like doing an extreme right now and may or may not be capable of running an extreme right now, synced. And sometimes the mentors you're getting will be someone like me who's like, yeah, well, we can do this boss with 3 or 4 players, so I don't really care. We'll just force it to work. But that's the reason why players then go, don't queue for it. Because you're going to have a terrible experience queuing for it. Continuing, not a lot of people look to do a Realm Reborn extremes in Party Finder. Again, because there's a surprisingly large amount of players that don't kind of recognize the concept of doing something for the sake of the challenge, or care about that concept anyway, which then means that it might be difficult to do that. My advice is that there are communities focused on doing stuff like this. You could also ask in various communities. As Tong said, I have a Discord server. You're welcome to ask there, although I don't know if you'll get a full party that are interested in doing it synced. And the thing is, it's not so much about getting your playstyle dictated. There's, like, the sequence is, not a lot of players want to run old extremes synced. Like that's the starting point. The second point then is that then means that party finder groups are going to be difficult to fill. The reason that this then culminates in don't queue for it specifically is because the people you're getting paired with, if you queue for it, as I mentioned, will be other sprouts that are likely less prepared than you. Or mentors that may or may not actually want to do that. Which, I know it sounds insane, I have videos on this. The main reason why, like, as far as I know, the main reason that that a lot of mentors don't want to do those Realm Reborn extremes is because at some point they get exhausted from getting groups of sprouts that are completely unprepared for what they've signed up for, and that can get very exhausting. Hence why people are advising you to do Party Finder, because then you're more likely to get people that actually wanted to do it, right? But I'm not saying you can't queue for Realm Reborn extremes. The main motivation I'm giving you to not queue for Realm Reborn extremes is that I'm envisioning hours of queue time in your future if you do. You did the homework, right? You did the homework. If you asked me, what should I do before I queue for a Realm Reborn extreme, I would be like, well, maybe don't do it. However, if you are going to do it, make sure you watch a guide on the job you're playing, at least up to the level you are, to make sure that you know how to play it. I'm sure you know, but just in case, double check with someone that might know better, because you might be completely wrong. And then watch a guide for the boss, because If you wanted to do it blind, get a group for it to do it blind. If you're doing it blind without actually doing it with other fellow blind players, you're cheating both yourself and them, because you're not getting the real blind experience, because there'll be people on the field there spoiling you by showing you what to do, and you're going to be sandbagging the party. So everyone loses. But you watched a guide, so you already did that homework. So go for it. Q. Go ahead. I'm just saying, try and find a time where there's more people on, so you don't have to queue for 5 hours or something. Now, hey GL, Cavalierist, and Captain Manboobs. Nice. A Fila, a Spider Kitten, and GL, and Keket, and Mimi. Hope you're doing well. Also very likely, Miwi, that people are like, why should I do that when I can just do it quickly? The big motivation for me is just having fun with it and like meeting a challenge, and it is something you can do. But I also don't mind low-level toolkits. That also works, Gage fan. I'm simply saying that you chose this fate by unmasking the truth and looking up advice from me. You no longer have the excuse that you didn't know to watch a guide. Because that's the trick. That's the one that I say when there's like a sprout in an extreme that seem completely lost. I'm like, yeah, well, they might not know that this is what they signed up for. They like extreme. How much harder can that be? I already did hard. Surely it's not that bad. And then it turns out it was that bad. But the only way for them to know is to, you know, try. But the moment you know, then, well, you know. And I will say, if you're really good at understanding mechanics, you might be fine. There's also something to be said that the only way to really practice your ability to understand mechanics by looking at them is by figuring them out yourself. But again, I recommend that you try and like round up a group to do it blind together. Gage fans, I watch them most of the time now and don't mind learning and adjusting. It just feels like people assume it's not worth the effort and leave after a single wipe, and it feels like a little lame at times. Yeah, if you've seen my video on, I have a few, I think, on why mentors will leave extremes, the simple reason is this. If you're the first person to leave a duty, then you get a 30-minute penalty where you're not allowed to queue for anything. As far as the mentor is concerned, if like this isn't all mentors, I stick around as long as I believe it's winnable because I think it's interesting, I think it's fun. But some mentors are in it, you know, just for the reward, and the reward for them is they get 1 clear every time they clear a duty in the mentor roulette. Whether that's under the armor taking 30 seconds or your extreme that ends up taking, I don't know, let's say 45 minutes. That can happen. That can happen. Doesn't matter. For them, it's 1 tick in the box, and they need 2,000 of them. So if they determine that this group will take more than 30 minutes to beat this, then it can be argued that it is actually a winning strategy for them to just leave. And then either just sit out the timer or just play something else. And there's also the possibility they don't even succeed, then they've spent 60 minutes and didn't even get a tick in the box. So that's why they will leave. and don't feel like it's worth their time. That's again circles back to why people recommend party finders, because if you have a full party finder group, then everyone involved are on the same page. We're here to do this fight. No one feels like they got roped into it, right? And again, not all mentors, but that's the kind of reason why they just scoot that fast. That's pretty much it. I don't. In fact, if you land in a duty with me and you see someone leave, if you see that I'm live, it is like, there's like a 99% probability that that party will get refilled. With mentors, or not even mentors, but players that all know the strategy and do way above average damage. Like, if I land in your extreme, then it is probably succeeding if it is an A Realm Reborn or a Heavensward extreme. And it's only more likely to succeed the more people leave. Also, hey Fila, and Knight, and Darkrin, and Travis. Hope you're doing well, and thank you so much, Fila. Thank you. And yeah, exactly, Zah. Like, I generally see it as a little bit boring when I get, like, multiple guild tests in a row, because nothing happens. Well, let me put it like this, Cage fan. You're not the only one that has this problem. 2 very short stories, then short break, and then we'll be back to Mentor Roulette. The first short story is back in Endwalker, especially. Also in Dawntrail, but especially in Endwalker. We had a few people that were trying to test some things by soloing current expansion dungeons. To do that, you need a light party. You need 3 volunteers to get you in the door, because you cannot use unrestricted party on current expansion content. You can't. Which meant that to enter the duty, you needed a light party. These people, and I'm saying these people as if they're anonymous, but you know, it's part of the community, and they know themselves, and they're welcome to step forth. They would post up in Party Finder if they didn't get, like, if they couldn't immediately round up 3 people from the community. And they would regularly have people send them a tell just going, just do it unsynced, Lamau. Not considering that if I do this, you get what I mean? And you can't do this either. The problem is unrestricted party is not allowed. You're straight up not allowed to do it. The second story is that a semi-regular problem in Party Finder is that people that want to beat a fight synced may post their group in Party Finder. And they will say that it is synced. They will have people join the group, say nothing, and when you then finally have a party filled and queue for it, they might even click OK. Then you enter the duty, and let's say it's like a level 80 duty. You do 1 pull, they die immediately, and they're like, I thought this was unsynced. Or, why don't you just unsync it? When it's like, we're doing it synced for the challenge. For the challenge. And this one also extends to people doing it blind or minimum item level or whatever. Is people will say this is a blind group. They'll put it in the description. They'll announce it 3 times in the party chat while grouping up, and they will enter the duty. And sometimes there will still be some jerk that just immediately flips open their marker list, dumps the markers for the duty, immediately spoiling stuff, and then maybe talk about mechanics, and then be like, oh, I didn't know that that's what blind means. So long story short, KH fan, there are a lot of interesting people in the world. And you can probably substitute interesting for what maybe I really mean, but I don't really want to say that. That's maybe a little too mean, but you probably know what I mean. A lot of interesting people on the planet. You meant amazing, of course. Also, hey, Falca, hope you're doing well. To your question, Falca, for Coils of Bahamut, you pretty much have to make Party Finder, because Coils of Bahamut is not actually in Mentor Roulette. So there's an extremely small batch of players there. Now, I'll be right back. And then we're back in the Mentor Roulette. In the meantime, Manatee restored. Alright, I'm back. Good luck, anyway, KH fan. I'm just waiting for the ad segment over on Twitch to finish. I'll say Lotus, hope you're doing well. I will queue when it says 06. Oh, 3-minute replacement. Labyrinth of the Ancients. We got a high level duty! We did it! Hey Flumpty, hope you're doing well. You know, it's extra fun because it's like Vanguard has that like that music that just blasts through like now back on track. Let's get it going. It's a perfect start from what we've been doing. Should maybe have waited a sec. Oh, too late for that. Oh yeah, there's only one wave. Oh yeah. Snaps. I hear the sound of a Nintendo Switch. The order of buttons. See, I was sitting here, going through the first, like, the pull after, right when I got in, and the boss, just trying to see if the reason the healer left had something to do with the party, like they saw something that I didn't, or something that might not, like that might be a reason. Like, some people will leave at a, like, out of nowhere for the weirdest things. Like, the moment I saw the tank kind of like just waddle over to the, like, up to the first pack, like after I joined, rather the first opportunity where they could feasibly had pulled 2 packs, I was like, is it because they didn't pull 2 packs? Because I mean, technically they didn't pull 2 packs when I joined. Like, they were in the middle of 1, but it could be that the healer saw that and then left, and it wasn't because they were missing a healer that they only pulled 1 pack. Only for them to, you know, they did pull 2 packs. It was probably Sprint wasn't available, and that for that. Well, I was really looking for it, like, what's the problem here? And I don't think there was a problem. But sometimes there is a thing where you're like, you are a replacement super early and like, oh, it's a single pull party. Fantastic. Well. And yeah, also true that it could just be someone, like, be the healer just disconnecting, or something came up right when the duty started. But sometimes there's a very interesting story. But 3 minutes in? Probably not. Like, let's be honest here, probably not. It could be, genuinely, it could be healer saw that the tank is a warrior, and then they left because they didn't want to heal a warrior, or quote unquote heal a warrior. I've seen that. No one got hit. Nice. I would also add that just because your tank is a warrior doesn't necessarily mean that there's nothing for you to do. I've seen some horrendously bad warriors, like absolute garbage warriors. So you're like, you're just lost as to why It's so hard to keep them alive because they're just not using their toolkit. How's veteran? Hope you're doing well. And happy almost 2026 to you too. Like, I'm just saying, it's not like I haven't done it this time. I was more caught up in, you know, landing in Vanguard as a replacement, but it isn't uncommon for me as a healer to the first thing I do when my tank is a warrior is I will be doing some I'll be playing chicken with their health bar a bit to see what it takes for them to actually use raw intuition, because sometimes the warrior will not use raw intuition unless they're below a certain HP threshold, and if I keep them above that threshold, then I'm missing out. Then I'm having a harder battle than I needed to have, because I'm helping them more than they wanted. And if I just wait and see what makes them trigger, like what makes them do it, then I can just wait until we hit that point, and then we're good and we're both happy, and I don't have to complain. How's it, Dinky? Hope you're doing well. Ilya says, I had a warrior in the new dungeon that seemed to not really use defensives. I think someone earlier today mentioned doing the new dungeon with a cure bot. Just a reminder for anyone that doesn't know, when we say cure bot, we don't mean like a literal bot. We mean someone who's choosing to just use cure all the time. And it's like, obviously, the duty is perfectly clearable like that. But just because it is clearable like that doesn't mean that you should slack like that. Whoops. Slack like that. It's pretty funny. So I have a short about that is like a stream highlight from way back when we were discussing how some, especially new players, come to the conclusion that healers don't need to attack, or that they don't want to attack. And as part of the justification given is that, well, the only reason you have to attack is damage mitigation, which is a really, really good reason. But it's not very obvious that that means that that's your problem as a new healer, especially if you're coming from an MMO where it's not the healer's job to do damage. And the logic is essentially, well, I'm the healer, that's the DPS, they're the damage dealers, it's their job to deal the damage, not mine. And the counterpoint is, of course, things like, well, does that mean that the tank shouldn't do damage either? And actually, I have met tanks that basically did the absolute bare minimum to just barely hold aggro. Like, we're talking, they would only use Unleash, or they would only use Overpower or Total Eclipse, and think that that's enough. That's good enough, because their job isn't to do damage, so it doesn't matter. There's also some players that believe, and it's really important to understand that I'm saying believe, that healers do no damage, because they don't have evidence that that's the case. They just think so, that healers probably don't do a lot of damage, and then they just convince themselves that that's the truth. And if healers basically do no damage, why break your back trying to sneak in a stone or two, right? Why bother? If it's for, like, measly pickings of extra damage. We're saving seconds in this 10+ minute duty by me attacking. What's the point? And if that was so, then yeah, I can see it. I get it. But the counterpoint then being, well, on the one hand, yeah, if you need a reason to attack, counterpoint, do you have a reason not to attack? And that is actually a very interesting counterpoint, exactly because it actually nails the problem. It actually hits right on the head of the problem. Because those players that come into, for instance, Final Fantasy XIV from a different MMO, thinking that they shouldn't actually be attacking very much, come into it with either, or with usually when they don't want to attack, is I need to conserve MP for when I need to heal. Which is very reasonable right up until the moment you know that you're not going to need that much MP. It's not, you attacking will not mean that you're lacking that MP. But that's easy for a player that has played the game for months or years to know. And not very easy for a new player to know. And they probably tried attacking in different MMOs and then told off for doing so, for whatever reason. The other reason, which is a lot funnier, is, well, if you need a reason to attack, how about why do you need a reason? Why don't you need a reason to not attack? Like, why is it we're starting with you need a reason to attack? Why is it we're not starting with what's the reason that you're not attacking? Like, what's your argument for that one? And that's because that one is a lot easier. If we go back to the, well, my job is healing, you're named a DPS, you're a damage dealer, so your job is attacking, then it is very easy to determine why such a healer would choose to not attack. Have you ever had that colleague, or maybe a co-student in school, that is, workplace or school, whatever, will only do exactly their part. If their job is to do X, but when they can go home or be done with work hinges on everyone being finished. Whether it's homework or school project or work, actual work, whatever, they would rather just sit on a chair or something and slack off than even entertain the idea of helping you with your part that just turned out to take longer today. That's that healer. That's the healer that you're dealing with. They will heal you because that's their job. They will not attack because that's your job. That's your problem. Why should they help you with your problem? They would rather use that time to do nothing than help you. That's the reason why in this kind of argumentation, you need a reason why someone should be attacking. And you don't, for some reason, don't need to bring up a reason for why they shouldn't. Is because the person that will not attack, just because it might not be directly in their job description, needed a reason to attack. That's why they're not attacking. Jose Kaif and Bolanti, hope you're doing well. And like in Faden, hope you're doing well as well. But it's really funny how that works. Anyway, I will queue when it says 9. And also, that's also a way to do it, Regis. I assume you mean a healer shouldn't be attacking is what you meant. Is, like, that's also a, well, by me having to attack, I have more to balance. Like, oh, under the armor again. Like, now I have more to worry about. But again, I will circle back to, it sounds more like laziness, right? Like, any solid justification you can give is like once you know the mechanics of the game and you know that the but I need that MP to heal with argument really doesn't hold water in nearly every situation. The moment you recognize that, every argument basically boils down to laziness. Or fear. It could be fear. I will queue when it says 34. The funniest part about that, KH fan, is that that one has produced players that, I'm not joking, the players that stand by that whole you don't need to attack as a healer basically just turned into no. Only sages should be attacking. Because they heal more when they do. Which is actually even stupider, because technically they heal more by not attacking. Like, if it came down to that, then sages can actually heal more by spamming diagnosis than spamming the cardia heals. So, like, I'm just saying, there's actually multiple examples of this in Final Fantasy XIV, of some sort of mechanical addition that seems to try and teach something specific, but then, you know, the kind of player that needs this lesson will not receive it. Okay, when it says 0-0. And yeah, also as GL says, there's a lot of lessons that go in one ear and out the other. Also here, Weird Cat, hope you're doing well. Hey! We have a Flatus misery, everybody. We still have misery. Hey. Hey Shackman, hope you're doing well. We did not get an interrupt. It might be fine. The Living Dead Benediction combo. Womp womp. It is surprising that white mages didn't get that change sooner. But also, I guess they're not like let's not forget that it took until Dawntrail before they went, hey, maybe we should just let astrologians start with their cards in hand. There's some pancake flipping over here. Whee! Don't worry, Dinky, you're not the only one. It's actually something that a lot of people have trouble with, dodging those. What if the next patch every job starts with full gauges? There are definitely some jobs that would get really weird about it. Actually, that's an interesting question, I suppose. Whoops. Uh-oh. Which job would get the... I don't feel like I was in range of that, but fair enough. Which job would get the weirdest by starting the duty with full gauge? And presumably you would, like, I'm assuming that that would mean that Samurai would start with all their stickers, for instance. Right? That's what that means, right? So they just... Do they open with Midara Setsugeka, or do they set up buffs first? Maybe they'll set up the damage buff. Or maybe they'll just go straight to it and then just get the buffs and then do the Chaiji thing. How's Ailey done? Hope you're doing well. And Seraph, hope you're doing well as well. Whoops. Also, I think I missed Necrofits ages ago. Hope you're doing well too. Would Pixelmancer have Madine? Probably. Surely. Red Mage would have 100 gauge. Like both gauges. If we were to be super pedantic, like just for the extra memes, it is worth mentioning that technically the melee combo thing is itself a gauge element. So it could be argued that starting with full gauge, like literally full gauge, would entail having actually a finished melee combo. Because that, like, technically it's a gauge. Like a type of gauge. Well, I tried. Yeah, starting with 3 polyglots on Black Mage, I guess you'd start in Umbral Ice 3 with 3 Umbral Hearts. Or maybe if we're going to assume that you're starting at full blast, like maximum damage potential, you'd probably start in Astral Fire 3 with 3 Umbral Hearts. Do you also have a Paradox Marker and a Fire Starter? Like, would you have those too? Do they count? It's true, Firestarter is not a gauge element. That is true. That is true. Well, that is an important detail to keep in mind, Shaq. That's also what's happening with White Mage. Is you start with everything, and the first thing people legitimately thought about was, does that mean that we just yeet the Blood Lily immediately so that we can build another one? Like, if we do it really fast, we might be able to build one before the burst starts. Like, we're really fast. And people did the math and found out that maybe not. Maybe not. But it was one of the first things people started looking at. Well, I guess you were too far away, buddy. Has this tank used any defensives? They have. Sometimes. But you have a good point. There's definitely been points where it feels like they didn't use anything. I mean, there's definitely a lot of jobs where if you started with full gauge, you would be, like, a lot of jobs would just have to overcap in their opener, because they just can't. I'll say, Mister, hope you're doing well. I have a feeling that the next pull is going to be brutal, so I'm just gonna hold a few things here. Nice, Audel. Oh, now they used everything. You see this? This is the reason why they sometimes use nothing. It's because they just face plant when they should use a little bit of something. And when they should use a little bit of something, they just use everything. Just everything. That's how it happens. Remember, guys, don't go full kitchen sink in dungeons. By the power of piano, yeah, just there you go. Oh yeah, the kitchen sink overlapped perfectly with my stun lock. Yeah, that's true. I don't think I saw TVN though. If I use all of my defensives, the healer can't complain about me not using defensives. I have actually done something like that. Specifically complained that they used everything. Anyway, that also circles back to the something about people being weird about attacking as a healer. Is that there exist, note, there exist tanks that legitimately believe that if the healer is attacking, that's an indication that the healer doesn't have enough work. And they will use that as justification to not use mitigation. Hey! Yeah, exactly, Kaif. Essentially, that's what they do, is, oh, well, if you're having such an easy time, then I can slack more. It basically circles back to the justification we were talking about a little bit ago of why would a healer not attack? Well, your job to attack, not mine. I will use that time to relax. Tank goes, well, if you're so strong that you can attack, like if you have so much excess that you can be attacking, then I don't have to quote unquote try so hard mitigating. I can relax. I'm just like, the problem with that one is it that hard to press Rampart? Because I don't think it is. Yeah, I've seen it all. I've seen it all. Like, I want you to understand that it might sound like some of these insane reasonings are so ludicrous that can't be real. That's something he's making up on the spot. No. I've actually heard those. I've seen those. All of them. One of the best ones was on my should you sprint in a dungeon short, where someone actually did the extreme mental gymnastics of starting with, I don't want you to want to sprint in a dungeon. And they landed at, the way they reasoned it was, well, the tank's job is to take damage. So using sprint is actually making you worse at your job. Bruh sound effect. Yeah, exactly. AK? Nope, you're doing well. That's really weird. We have KAE and me, CAE. And yeah, and we have K-A-Y too. And we also have Kaj, K-A-G. K-H-J, sorry. LQ1 says 19. It is something to be said, Ilana, that the justification of going the tank's job is to take damage means that they become worse as they get better gear. That is really funny. This is not the first time that we've gotten both of the newly changed dungeons in one men's roulette set. Hey Fames, hope you're doing well. Oh, that is a gamer tank right there. Let's see if I can make sure that I don't fail them here. In a world where you have no OGCD healing and you're almost level 50, your tank pulls like 4 packs where every single one of them has a mini tank buster. Will our hero survive? Or will he die by the slow cure 2? Tune in this fall. This Christmas Eve or something like that for White Mage in Aurum Vale. Starring a very small lizard person. I don't even have Medica 2 here. Traded NC-17. Oh, the Zav, I just completely goofed it. I don't even know why I said G. Taking damage and that's true, Sally. Well, see, that's the funny thing. Is like if the tank's job is to take damage, the only justification to bring one is if they're better at taking damage than other roles, and then the question becomes, how do you take damage better? It's by taking less of it, or relatively speaking, turning more damage into less damage. Which means mitigation helps you do your job better if tanks supposedly are better at this task than a not tank. And if that's the case, then sprint makes you better at tanking. And if sprint makes you better at tanking, then why are you not sprinting? I believe that's the reason why this person somehow magically landed at the conclusion that that tank's job is to take damage and therefore sprint is bad, is because every time they try to justify that you shouldn't use sprint, they landed in a situation where it's like, well, sprint generally helps you, so you should be using it. But they wanted a specific result. Hey William, hope you're doing well. Who has the best mitigation? It kind of depends on what you need. Paladin probably arguably has the best mitigation in general because Guardian is insanely good. They can block, the other tanks can't. Holy Sheltron is a little more flexible than Heart of Corundum. Guardian, I believe, makes a shield that is competitive with TBN. And Hallowed Ground is technically the strongest invulnerability. But if you need more mitigation, like if you need multiple mitigations, then other tanks have other advantages. So it becomes a little more complicated. Block does not replace parrying, right? No, you can do either one, as in an attack cannot be both parried and blocked, but paladins can also parry. They just, like, you can't parry if you're already blocking, and you can't block if you're already parrying. I don't quite know how the calculation is, but the point is, paladins are not missing parries. They also have those. You do have Cure... That is true, I do have Cure 3. The reason why I was annoyed that I didn't have Medica 2 was because I wanted to do AoE heal over time to, like, counteract the gold lung debuff on the first boss, and I couldn't because I don't have Medica 3. I think he used a potion. Not complaining. I'm just looking at the situation, going, how did he heal that? Because I didn't see a Thrill of Battle, and I don't think he has Equilibrium at this level. Actually, I don't even think. I know he doesn't have it. So it had to be a potion. That's good. That's good, though. Gamer tank. Non-sprout there. Either that, or they really did their homework. I have here and there mentioned that it's that's a pretty solid move to use potions as a tank. And, I mean, they will have happened upon a few potions here and there in their journey. It's probably more likely, looking at the weapon they're wielding, that it's not entirely a sprouty sprout. But it's possible. I don't care. I'm just happy that they're a gamer. Hey, Dottleneck, hope you're doing well. So you would say Paladin is the tankiest of the bunch? There's a little bit more to it, but Paladin largely does have the greatest ability to reduce damage. Like, if a paladin is incapable of surviving an attack, then probably no tank can survive that attack. It is really strange how the fruits just stick around when you eat them. Hey Vespi, hope you're doing well. And most of my potions are also just randomly picked up from Palace of the Dead. I wonder what those fruits taste like. Well, based on this description, I'm guessing not good. Queasy from eating marble fruit, unable to consume more until effect expires. No, thank you, no more. I only took one tiny bite. But no. Don't do this to me. I will queue when it says 40. Oh, you don't even need to worry about that, Zaf, because the reason why people are saying that you just take a bite out of one now is because the fruits don't despawn. They just have fixed locations, and everyone can go and chomp from the same one. Which is a little bit, like, I feel like that's a little bit of a shame, but I can see it. If they're always there, then maybe it's a little silly if there's no cooldown. Although on the other hand, I'm pretty sure the bosses don't add to their debuff, like their appropriate debuff, frequently enough for 20 seconds to be a limitation in the slightest.
Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow.
Oh, right. The thingy. I have a feeling this guy doesn't know what Rampart is. Did he already use it? Whoops. Ow. It's the ball of sand! It is here to roll and puff at you. It's here to huff and puff at you until your whole house breaks down. You know, the ball of sand is probably more me seeing how long these people just hung out next to the ball of sand. Why? Tank it, I meant to tank damage, you know. That's the tank's excuse. Now, what was the... I think it was the red mage doing it too. What's their excuse? They like the sand. Oh. I want to play in the sand pit. Sand pit! Woo! Everybody out here playing in sand pits. Don't lose your head over it. Ow. In a world. Whoop. Just barely made it. I was gonna go on a whole tirade about how the hand just kept the tank down. I feel like I was more justified in just AoEing because my single target is not very much better than my AoE. The tank just barely made it. Is this what white mage players look at all the time? Sometimes, at really high levels, it looks a little different. But yeah, a lot of the time, that's what it looks like. Oh, there's Rampart. Uh-oh. I was saved! Yay! Yeah, the trick there, Regal Star, is just to like learn the timing more. See whether it's like switch to single target a little sooner. Or, you know, if the pack is already dead, then I mean, what are we gonna do with that time anyway? It yields! Hope you're doing well. It was a mental roulette, almost certainly. Unless you were in my expert roulette like 7 hours ago? 6 or 7 hours ago? What happened to Holy 2? I believe the story there is Holy 2 sounded weird in Japanese. So they skipped it. If you queued into me in NA, then it was probably not me. If you were specifically on an NA data center, then it was not me. Oh boy. I think we're gonna wipe. The boss didn't get damaged fast enough. I think people were too focused on either attacking the boss, which doesn't work, or attacking other stuff, because the boss had a cover on them. And I think the cover doesn't redirect the damage. It makes the boss just not take the damage. And the tank died during this crucial moment. Uh-oh. Yeah, the Cact Guard just makes the boss take basically no damage, which makes it really hard to do enough damage to interrupt the concentration. Yeah, I believe it was in the chaos of it all. People didn't notice that the boss was taking basically no damage. And they were like frantically attacking it instead of the thing that made that happen. Yeah, what do you remember what duty it was, Geodes? Take your spell. Hope you're doing well. It was the way expert roulette. Okay. Yeah, then it was not meant to roulette. I was just doing a daily expert roulette for some tomes. Oh, no. The latest one isn't Mentor Roulette. The only things that are not in Mentor Roulette is Savage and Coils of Bahamut. Pretty much. Indeed, Cure Spell. Oddly fitting. Oh yeah, and current expansion extremes, that's true. Current expansion extremes are not there either. That is an awkward Holmgang. What was your plan once Holmgang ended? Because I already used Benediction a minute ago. What was the plan? You just die. Welcome to level 50 warrior. You don't have a solution. You just have an invuln that relies entirely on the healer. The plan? What plan? I had planned to survive 10 more seconds. Yeah, importantly, the current newest dungeon and trial is in Mentor Roulette. That is also part of the reason why on release week I do the new stuff on Tuesday and then I do Mentor Roulette on Wednesday because I can't do it the other way around. Crispell just started recently unlocked Mental Roulette, and the first 100 duties have there been no A Realm Reborn extremes yet. I mean, depending on what you're looking for, that can be a blessing or a curse. But I can say that in my experience, like in addition to sometimes some days that just won't be as much, and sometimes specific roles just don't get them very much. In addition to that, time of day and time of week can matter. Like if you try to picture a smart time, like if you were to queue for an extreme, when would you do that? Probably not in the afternoon. Like that kind of logic. Queuing into duties at midnight in EU. Why no pop? Where duty pop? Oh boy.
No! No!
Does this work? It would be really funny if it worked, though. You gotta admit, it would be hilarious if it worked. Okay, guys, I'm taking the orchestrion role. I'm gonna grab that. I don't have it, so I'm taking it. You understand? Yoink. That's where my 99 rolls go. Funny that the tank got a zombified instead rather than you. Yeah, actually, I'm guessing that they didn't dodge anything. Anyway, I'll be right back, and then we'll keep going. In the meantime, mana tea restored. Remind me about Enter Zackboy's question if I forget. Alright, I'm back. To your question, Endersack Boy, the only way to be jailed... Okay. The only way to get jailed on the last boss is by getting 4 stacks of the debuff that specific mechanics distribute. The mechanics that distribute them is 1, the waves, like the conga lines of mummies running at you. If you get hit by those, you'll probably get like 2 stacks before you probably stand up a step aside. But that's avoidable. Option 2, Light of Anathema is a line AoE with no telegraph, but a cast bar. That one gives you 1 if you get hit. Just don't get hit because it's avoidable. The third one is when the boss marks a specific play, like a random play with a spread marker. It's not a spread marker in this case, apparently. It shoots a beam at them that gradually builds stacks. That one is not avoidable, but the boss is stunnable. So what you do is the moment the cast, like the moment the boss stops thinking about it, just stun them. Boom. But you also could see that the laser beam doesn't give 4 stacks as far as I can see, or it got interrupted by someone else getting jailed, I don't know. But if it's the only source of stacks that you receive, you might be fine. But ultimately, if you're the tank, just stun it when that happens. I swear I tried to stun it one time and it didn't work. It's possible you had a white mage. In retrospect, why didn't I use holy? I had the time to cast repose, but I didn't use holy. Yeah. Revelation. Huh. Oh yeah. LQ when it says 25. Hey cat, hope you're doing well. Dun 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 dun. Hey, keep up the lake. How do you feel about this dungeon? It's alright. It's more the, oh, yet another relatively low level dungeon where we don't have lilies or anything. Like, some of you may remember that a while back I made a tier list for jobs, specifically for Mentor Roulette. I'm pretty sure that I ranked White Mage as B tier, and that's relevant because basically all support jobs landed at worst a B tier because they're support jobs. They're more impactful than most DPS jobs just because they're support jobs. But White Mage, if I recall correctly, I ranked as the worst healer for Mentor Roulette. Thank you, Ardell. Because it's terrible in super low level dungeons. And the holy stuff kind of requires your party to play a little bit into it, which means that White Mage is more awkward to play with than the other healers as the players that are not the White Mage. And then it just doesn't scale super well when you get synced down really far. So basically all of the reasons why I would rank White Mage as a bad choice for Mentor Roulette is what we're getting served tonight. I'm also just to be clear, I'm not saying that you can't play White Mage in Mentor Roulette. Like, I'm pretty sure I mentioned in the video that even the lowest tier jobs aren't necessarily a bad choice. Like, the further down on the Mentor job tier list you were, the more likely it is that you'd have to use your words to make the Mentor Roulette go fast, because you were less able to force it to function without working with your team. Which is why jobs like Gunbreaker and Warrior were S tier. Boom! The Dragoon just comes out of the explosion with hair in all directions. I lived! Face full of ash, exactly. And that's also a thing that with White Mage is like in casual content between the 4 healers, I would say that White Mage may well be the one that scales the best with your team not taking damage. Which, again, circles back to, okay, so you'd rather not be White Mage in Mentor Roulettes? Because it's more likely that your party is going to need you to be a healer. Weird how that works. Again, I'm not saying, so therefore White Mage bad. More so saying that that's why it's B and not S. Because that's something that sometimes happens, is if I'm mentioning why some job isn't the best at something, is that people go like, okay, so why are you saying that it's absolute turbo garbage and it might as well get deleted from the game? Like, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. I just said that the other's a little better. And that has competition, and the competition beats it. That's all. But thanks to starting with a face full of gauge now, in duties where Philatus Misery is a thing, White Mage is pretty crazy. Just, like, not that it wasn't before, like, the fact that it can just, you know, store up and then just blast with a Philatus Misery once the duty has come into play a little bit. But starting with a full gauge means that the very first pull you can do that. I didn't say turbo garbage, I said terrible. Yeah, I didn't say it was bad. I said that you can tear it into pieces. It's terrible. Tier list for Under the Armor. Reaper is S tier. I know, Sally. I did. For Under the Armor, Reaper's S tier. It does ridiculous amount of GCD damage. Viper is also S tier, but Reaper, I'm pretty sure, just barely beats it. And arguably, like, I'm perfectly aware that you can only go into guild tests with a light party, which does complicate things a tad. But arguably, all healers are F tier. To some degree, tanks are also F tier because, like, Ham did the test. Any job can solo Under the Armor and can ignore the ads. Some will have a harder time doing that, but any job can. So bring 4 Reapers. Did you know Warrior can't solo Under the Armor synced? Oh, Warrior can solo Under the Armor synced. They just need 3 friends to help them in. Basically, the only thing that matters for the tier list for Under the Armor is how much damage you can do at level 10? I think it's level 10. And Reaper, I'm pretty sure, does the most damage. And Viper is, like, extremely close. 10, 11. Something like that. And, I'm pretty sure all of the other melees don't quite have that kind of potency. And Dancer doesn't have standard step. And the things that make for instance, consider this. Black Mage is dealing with like potencies in the area of like 250, like the Fire 1 is with the damage bonus, I think it's like 250. 180 times 1.4. You don't have main mint. I think it's that. It's 250. It's 252. But that's like, you also have one Thunder 1 you're going to be using. That'll help you a little bit. But you don't have it, like your auto attacks are nearly meaningless. And the Viper is doing 330 potency. And doing good auto attacks. And the Reaper's doing slightly more than that, if I recall correctly. Like, just barely more than that. It is worth mentioning, I don't think there's any that any job learns anything relevant at level 11. So whether it's 10 or 11, it's kind of whatever. And the other mages, Pictomancer doesn't have anything very good. It's averaging below 300 potency. Red Mage is averaging below 300 potency. And like, it has Jolt, it's reliant on Jolt, which is 180 at that level, so nope. And Summoner, it has to use Ether Charge. And it doesn't hit 300 potency with that, I don't think. I believe it hits 290 during Ether Charge, and that's at the cost of a GCD. So, like, mages are out. And as I said, healers and tanks are basically F tier, because a DPS would do better. So you have, like, tanks and healers. Actually, maybe tanks are, like, D tier. Or E tier because they might do a little bit better than a healer. They also might not. Healers and tanks are pretty close in that level range also. And then mages probably hang out somewhere around D and C tier. And then basically all of the physical jobs that are not Vibrant Reaper are in B and A tier. I don't know. Can you actually slip off the edge in this arena? Nox found LeChaw. Nice. Yeah. Wow. I'll see if I can fall off after the fight is over. I had a feeling that was necessary with those Vuln stacks. Hi Anza, hope you're doing well. Oh yeah, I get that, Cat. But now I'm curious. Now I want to know. Yeah! Oh. Yeah! Oh. Oh. Surprise! Oh. Exactly, mister. No leaving to death today. In game. Zalex, hope you're doing well. And Exodi. Is it neat that you can see the rest of the dungeon from up there? True, but I feel like we didn't climb that much. Like, what? Did we skip a huge bit? I will queue when it says 5. Hope you're doing well, by the way, Licho. I think I said 5, so I'll click on 5. Another guys, it's another 4-man duty. I know we've just having all of this other stuff, but luckily we finally have a 4-man duty. Thankfully, we finally get to have a 4-man duty. Assuming the tank is available. It would have been amazing if we now got an 8-man duty after that. Aurum Vale again! Hey! Aurum Vale again! With a paladin. It's a paladin, it's a paladin, he's an oath keeper. If you had an oath with him, he would keep it. Because he's an oath keeper. It says right there. Okay, let's see. Not intentionally spacing out the holies, but it seems like I both need to keep him alive and also do the stuns. How many duties did you have with the gauge? We had I was a replacement in Vanguard. Hey, Dragon, hope you're doing well. It's a mix, Dragon. I feel like the Aurum Vale changes are like they don't really change. Like it's mostly nostalgia stuff that matters for Aurum Vale. For new players, the point where it's a little bit of a shame is that I do feel like it's a little much that they basically completely remove the complexity in like maneuvering getting the fruits, because the fruits just... Is out of range? Really? I didn't think it was that short. The fruits don't despawn when you eat them. Not anymore. I feel like that's a little bit much. I also feel like... I think that they didn't consider that putting a cast time on the tank buster means that the boss will have less time to do things and will take longer to get through its sequence of tasks, which means that it has a really hard time just getting to 3 of these, which I think is a little bit of a shame. They should have maybe considered like squishing the timeline a little bit. Nice way to put it, Kat. That's kind of what I mean with, like, aside from nostalgia, that bit is basically whatever. For the male Darkhold, the bosses, I would say, are, like, mostly fine changes. Like, the first boss just got different mechanics, but arguably before it didn't really have mechanics. Not really. Because of power creep, the whole thing with the crystal's light is like, yeah, but you needed a pretty weak group to need more than 1 crystal. And while you're standing the crystal, no one's taking damage. So it's basically like a nothing fight. But the sections with the Magitech terminals I felt were more interesting with the terminals. And the whole first section, I feel like it was more interesting with the crystal's light and all that. However, the whole gimmick of the first third of the dungeon was kind of lost. I don't... Like, just to be clear, that's not recent power creep that killed it. I don't ever remember the gimmick that was actually there being relevant. The gimmick in the first third of the dungeon is the big eye boss runs, like, flies back and forth through the corridors and will attack you, do a big AoE damage if he's near you. But did you notice that there's, like, a whole bunch of, like, side paths, like small side sections you can hide in if you can't make it to crystal light to protect yourself? You might have noticed. I doubt you used it. And I don't think I've ever seen anyone use it. And remember, I got into the game in Stormblood. So already there, it didn't matter. So, like, yeah, the crystal light thing is fascinating and all that. Wow! Galaxy brain over there. That won't kill me. Boom, survive with 28 HP. Yeah, ninja aura farming. That sounds about right. But yeah, to come back to that, because that gimmick never really mattered, I feel like the thing is like the crystal light was like interesting. It's boring when it's just packs, but again, it's like it's mostly nostalgia speaking, right? And I'm trying to like come at it from a perspective of, well, if they had released a dungeon like it is now, today, then it would probably be fine. The problem with it is that it was changed from something else. That's it. That's all. The thing that I find really sad about the Dismail Darkhold changes, the part that I find is like really, oh man, is the section after the second boss. The whole thing with the terminals and all that, they obviously removed the terminals and then replace it all with 2 packs wall. Like it's so blatant that it's like really? Really? Like it's straight up like just 1 pack of 4 mobs and then like just barely spaced out enough that the second pack does not get pulled if you pull the first pack, and then that's just also like 4 mobs. No patrol, no nothing. It's just 2 packs wall. And instead of opening by doing the terminal thing, it opens when you kill the 2 packs. But I feel like the changes to the bosses are in Dismail Darkhold are pretty fine. They make sense. I feel like the changes to our male bosses make sense. Although I have, as I said, I have a little bit of a grievance about the first boss. I feel like they should have reduced, like they should have squooshed in the timeline a little bit so that the gold lung mechanic happened more frequently. It's bad when your average group only sees it 3 times, when you kind of need it to happen 3 times for it to actually be threatening enough to justify getting the fruits in the first place. Tank pulled the mobs into the second boss chamber. Oh yeah, that is one of the I have ranked that as one of the hardest AoE pulls in the game. I don't recommend doing that with a rando healer, but hey, if they feel confident. But yeah, speaking of which, with the introduction of the ability to pull everything up to the first boss, that might be a harder pull. Actually, pretty sure that one is a harder pull than the second, the pulling everything after the first boss into the second boss room. Like, I'm pretty sure that the first third of the dungeon is harder than that. And now I haven't tried doing the Giga pull of the whole first third of the Dismail Darkhold, but I would be willing to suggest that it might be harder than the than all of the Giga pulls on Stone Vigil, like additionally. Oh yeah, the most dreadful change. Did you know that the treasure coffer used to spawn here? They have moved the treasure coffer 5 fulms to the right. How will we ever financially recover from this? LQN says 50. We won't, we're broke now. But I don't really mind the changes. As I said, the Aurum Veil changes just makes the dungeon a little less mean on your first go, but most of the things they removed or changed, like most of the pack-related stuff that were changed is like nothing burger, because once you've done it once, you're not gonna take damage from the goop on the floor, and you're just not gonna pull the side packs in that room before the second boss. You're just not. So them making it there are 2 packs and you can't avoid that just means that there's no, oh, maybe we can avoid the patrol, and then you pull a side pack and the patrol and the pack, and then suddenly you're in danger. What about the goop burger? Fair point. Like if you dip your burger in the goop, then it'll be a goop burger at least. So it feels like they've made the average experience of Aurum Veil more consistent, and then they've in a way made the first boss slightly easier. Slightly. And the male Darkhold is complicated. I think it's a shame they removed the Magitech terminals. Well, I have a whole video explaining in detail how the terminals work in Mythbusters. Now they're gone. Bruh. Hey, Silva! Hope you're doing well. Video obsolete, time to re-release it. But yes, I feel like that's a shame. That was an interesting mechanic of the dungeon that is just gone now. But arguably, the terminals didn't really do anything. Like, it's not... admittedly, it's not a very interesting mechanic. It's... to reference a little bit of a meme, it's very, very on the nose of a stand and let thing resolve, isn't it? Was I helium? Hope you're doing well. So it's similar to the Crystal Light thing. Doing it wrong causes the dungeon to be really, really, really annoying and scary and dangerous and frustrating for some. Doing it right makes the dungeon a complete pushover. And it's interesting to discover, but you don't really discover it. You just, like, for the most part, you just, like, if you're not standing in the Crystal Light, there's a possibility that the healer will rescue you into it. Boom, problem solved. You're only discovering it once, and then like these whole sections of the dungeon with these mechanics are just annoying or whatever every time you see it from now on, just to preserve that. And I'm just saying, I understand nostalgia, but you can probably see how I'm pretty much someone that feels like something should stay the way that it is for the sake of nostalgia. I'm that person's enemy. Straight up. Because I'm like, nah, change it if it's better that way. I don't care. The justification to keep something a specific way because it always was like that? Nope. No. Make it better. Thank you, Erdl. You can't even have nostalgia without change. Also true. I would say on that one, Travis, that if they had like maybe variant dungeons isn't it, but something akin to that, like, you know, like some other branch of like other type of dungeon, that could get a little wacky with the mechanics, like more wacky without it being annoying. And annoying, but I mostly mean the problem with having really super gimmicky mechanics in a dungeon nowadays is that people will get very tired of it really fast because of daily roulettes. So put it somewhere where it's not going to go in a roulette. That's a good starting point, I think. Then you could, like, the whole gimmick I was talking about in the first third of the Male Darkhold, that whole thing where it's like, oh yeah, there's those like side rooms to avoid the boss as you're gradually making your way over to the boss, and you have these terminals that someone has to like go out and risk their hide to stand in the terminal, and you need to keep them alive through the damage. Because like there's no safety out there, you have to stand in the terminal in the middle of the room, the boss is just pelting you with damage. Like, that kind of mechanic could work in such a type of dungeon, because they could just really make it really punishing, and you have to specifically have the tank take the terminal and things like that, because someone else is gonna die to the damage from the boss if if you're not careful. That eyes on me thing just kills you, just like that. But the kind of dungeons we have right now just isn't the place for that. So like it's in the wrong environment, so it doesn't get to breathe, it doesn't get to exist right. I will say they did do something with the first boss of the Male Darkhold. The old version had a cone AoE that you could basically ignore because you're standing in the crystal's light. And then it summoned ads that did line AoEs and stuff that you could basically ignore because you're standing in the crystal's light. Now it has a line AoE, it has a raid wide, eyes on me, of course. And then it has this like 3-wave circle AoEs thing, which is like it's a slightly new pattern, which I know sounds really stupid, because like, yeah, okay, fantastic, version 300 of that. Yeah, but if you're actually in a Realm Reborn, you may have seen that kind of mechanic like 3 times. And one of those 3 times is in Halatali, which is an optional dungeon. So maybe it's not so bad. And the level range at which the Male Darkhold exists in makes it a pretty good candidate to have such a forgiving mechanic like that. Some players that are really new to this kind of game needs that kind of practice. Right, Mistle, enjoy your evening. Silva, the same thing happened with Cutter's Cry. People were like, no, I always instantly leave if I get Cutter's Cry because it's so annoying, or it's too long, or I don't like the whole thing with skipping the Oasis bit. It's so confusing and weird. Then they go, we're removing the whole skipping the Oasis bit, and then people say, what? No! Now I don't want to do it because now it's too long, even though Cutter's Cry is still going to be like 12 minutes. Like, this happened with every dungeon rework so far, pretty much, Silva, is suddenly people come out of the woodworks defending it, but a lot of the people defending it might not have actually cared that much when it really comes to it. Some of the people I've heard defend the Oasis thing in Cutter's Cry, I have previously been told that they don't run leveling dungeons. Like, they haven't in ages. Meanwhile, I don't mind doing leveling dungeons just for the tomes. The people who don't mind the dungeon probably didn't speak up before. That is also true. If they like a dungeon very much, they probably also didn't say very much, but arguably the whole Oasis bit seemed like an oversight. Linsel mentions Totrak as another example of that, and yeah, I get that. The funny thing there is, That's a fair point, Kay, that the 3 waves of Circle AoE thing is kind of like at least one of the bosses from Copperbell Mines. That's a good point. The funny thing is, many of the annoying dungeons or frustrating dungeons of the past, people nostalgically remember and enjoyed because of the annoyance. I talked a little bit about this in my Death of Social Interaction video, came out somewhat recently. Is that something that many old school MMOs had going for them was that they drag you through the long journey of all the dank memes and jank of the game and all the hard parts and all those things. The things that were hard and annoying to deal with in the game were memorable because they were hard and annoying to deal with. And the fact we have all done it means we all have something in common. It's kind of like the MSQ. Well, you could say it like that, Kay, but at the same time, the history is not lost. It's just, instead of leaving that old burnt down theme park as crispy old burnt down theme park, they're fixing it. And then there's videos and stories about the old version. And I agree with that, Travis. That's also why I'm focusing on the mechanical changes on the first boss in Zemail Darkhold being, you know, changed from you just tank and spank it under the crystal's light, and all mechanics are irrelevant as long as you do that one thing that only matters in this one boss fight, and is never done again. To a boss with relatively simple mechanics, but mechanics that you have to dodge in the same way as more modern dungeons. Technically, it's just slower because it's lower level. Like, that works. That makes sense. But admittedly, a duty support tank would either have to be straight up programmed to move the boss to the crystal's light in a very certain way, or it might not be able to handle that. So it's very difficult to just go, yeah, it's definitely because they're thinking ahead to teach the sprouts. I know, okay, but that can be, like, that can also be good. You can be sad about change and still be like, no, it's fine, it makes sense. That's also the reason why I see all those big job changes that overhaul something. Yeah, that's true, Cat. Unless you do this exact one thing. If you do this exact thing, then the boss is trivial. If you don't, then you can't win. Like, you straight up can't win if you don't do this thing. But that's also, like, my perspective on many of the job changes. I'm like, well, I had fun with that old version. It's a shame that I don't have it anymore if I like to play it, but I did get to experience it. And I'm not saying that as a, so therefore all of these big job changes are A-okay and everything is fine and dandy and just trust the process. They know what they're doing. I don't know if they know what they're doing. I don't know if they know what they're doing. All we can do is work with what we have. Yeah, Cape Westwind is also a good example. The old fight was hilarious, but the new one is actually a good fight. It says, after I tried Classic WoW for a bit, I'm glad to actually do a rotation in this game again. Oof. Did I cast it? I think I cast one Medica 2 while Liv wasn't targetable. Was everything else just players regioning? I also cast region on the tank, but I was thinking about the DPS. Elana says, what do you mean, quote unquote, WoW vanilla was hard? You'll see with Classic that retail is casual land. I found that, like, that I was there to experience that. Oh yeah, now Classic is finally, and now the version of WoW that really puts hair on your chest. Also for the women, you can have hair on your chest too. Also the non-binary, you can also have hair on your chest if you want to. Just take note that it really puts hair on it, so maybe be careful. As if what we said is true. And then Molten Core, the supposed real hard raid, was beaten with like 25 players out of 40, and a large part of them wasn't max level, let alone well geared. But what if I don't want hair on my chest? Then you'd probably... Well, I guess you can probably play Classic WoW, because it turned out I didn't really put hair on your chest. So... And every raid after that wasn't hard either, because you just stacked world buffs and just decimated everything. But WoW Classic, for the most part... And I'm not bashing it. I think WoW Classic is a fun game. I'll get to that. But it was more tedious than hard. What MMO can I play to remove hair from my chest? I don't know. I don't even know if there is one that will put hair on your chest at this point. Fextricity says PSO2, Lex. So hope you're doing well, Fextricity. And when I say I think WoW Classic is fun, I'm saying I was there because I was playing a warrior at launch of Classic. And I was, like, I wasn't like a turbo speedrunner leveler. It took me a while, at least a month. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 months, like, gradually playing. But I was ahead enough of the general curve that I was frequently invited to tank stuff for people, because there was a big shock, guys, a severe lack of warriors, because a lot of the, turbo gamers were perfectly aware that warriors not that great. Like, it's not that amazing in leveling experience unless you're, like, stacked with dungeon drops at all times, which means you need to get boosted, or you have a ton of gold. So a lot of people made mages and then fought over the limited AoE leveling areas. And then I played warrior, and here's the trick, guys. Here's the trick I used. A lot of warrior players will just put stamina and strength gear across the board. I stacked spirit. I was more likely to grab Stamina Spirit, for that matter, because the stamina was pretty important when I was tanking stuff and things like that. But I was stacking Spirit. I had so much Spirit at certain level ranges that the Hunter guy that I sometimes played with, he, like, we would do like a big pull, and then he would sit down to eat. And I would just sit down and breathe the air, and I would regen HP faster than him, because I had that much Spirit. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think Spirit is a healer stat. Only. So I would just sit there, enjoying the weather, and recover. And this wasn't like secret tech or anything. I used that trick from a random video someone had like made from private servers, testing stuff where they compared a full strength build, like Corpse Maker in like Hillsbrad areas, like level 29 mob or something. Like they had amazingly good gear, and you know, strength, stamina across the board. And then they compared the kill speed, like the speed at which they could kill things, with a build that was basically replacing the gear with largely Stamina Spirit, or even just Spirit. They used a staff that had Spirit and Stamina on it instead of Corpse Maker. The observation was that strength increased your damage by effectively a flat amount. So it wasn't as big of a deal. Like, if you just had a weapon with high weapon damage, it didn't matter that you didn't have that much strength. Like, the majority of your damage came from the weapon damage, not strength. So you not having it just meant you did slightly less damage. And the difference was that with the strength build, you could kill like 2 or 3 or 4 mobs even in really quick succession. You just kill that, kill that, kill that, kill that. Then you had to sit down and eat. The Spirit build, basically recovered all HP lost from the previous fight on the run to the next mob. So they basically, like, they killed stuff slightly slower, but they didn't have downtime. And that's what I did. I say low IQ, hope you're doing well. Because I thought Spirit was for increased mana regen. In classic WoW, Spirit increases HP recovery per second and MP recovery per 5. Except for rogues and warriors, because they don't have MP, I believe they scale twice as fast with Spirit. Which is, if not more than twice as fast. They scale a lot faster with Spirit, which is part of the reason why Warrior was so good with Spirit. Exactly, Kat. It's like early game Dark Souls. Do you want 5% extra damage or 30% more health? Precisely. Exactly. Hey Dyson, hope you're doing well. Let's just see here. Let me give you the rundown of the duties we got. We got 1, 2, 3 guild tests and 1, 2 quote-unquote high-level dungeons. You know, level 50, 60, 70 dungeons and such. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, wait, sorry, we've got 3 high-level dungeons. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leveling dungeons. And 1 MSQ roulette. And yeah, I don't think anyone managed to snipe me, at least deliberately. It's actually pretty interesting because, like, a few days ago, I think it was last week when I put out a mentor video, there was someone in the comments that said that they felt a little bit like me doing the whole setup on stream to make sure people have a chance of sniping me, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of it all if you're just landing in groups with friends every time? Where there's, of course, the counter-argument that we will at least land in one person's duty that needed a duty every time. Because mentor roulettes don't just put mentors only from mentor roulette together. But I also pointed out that sometimes they just don't get any snipes. Like, it's not a guarantee. Exactly, Sarah. Filled groups are filled groups, and even if it's just one person who needed that extreme done, them getting it done means they're happy. And yeah, if you miss, like, here's an argument. If I just spam, like, queued immediately with no warning, then a lot of the people here in my garden here would have no chance of queuing into me. So they would be less likely to be like, okay, I'm gonna queue at the same time to snipe Kai. Maybe you'd queue a few times to see if you could, but you'd probably lose motivation. By me timing it so that you can queue with me, I'm basically bringing like a shotgun of mentors ready to go, and then we just all land in something, and if we land in the same thing, great. If we don't, well, then we have more solid, good mentor players that are here to help. So, win-win in my book. If says, is it because you can get a full party of mentors, but you can't get that if they all queued for mentor specifically? Yeah, if everyone here is queuing for mentor roulette, then we can only land in duties other people planned. If there's some people here queuing for, I don't know, Sephiroth Extreme to try and snipe me into something hard, then obviously everyone, we could have an 8-man community group, but I'm just saying, what a small price to pay. That would be hilarious. And sometimes, like, I believe in the past we've had cases where people queued for Sephiroth Extreme to try and snipe me, and then all 7 players trying to snipe me landed in 6 or 7 landed in Sephiroth Extreme with a Sprout or 2 that actually needed it. Like, they actually wanted that clear. And people stayed. Go for it, Dyson. People stayed to do it. Tried, and that's the important bit. And that's also like when KH-Fan earlier asked about the whole queuing for extremes thing. As I said, and I'm not joking, if I land in it, if you are trying to do an extreme and you see me appear, if I'm streaming, then stay put if you see people leave. Because as long as you stay, as long as there's like enough, as long as there's not so many people leaving that we can't reliably fill it, then me being live showing free spaces will have people be like, oh, well, that's the easiest snipe of my life, and then just immediately slam, boom, and then we have replacements immediately, and those replacements are good, solid players. And we're probably, like, if too many people leave, we're probably getting it in one pull. So, I don't care, I don't mind. You just, like, if you see me, if you see the pink small dragon, the pink lizard, land in your extreme, then if you see people leave and give up, if you stay, there's a chance we're winning anyways. Because I'm staying until I don't see a chance of victory anymore. And yeah, exactly, Nox. And see, on the one hand, as some might say, doesn't that kind of defeat the whole point of the challenge of Mentor Roulette? Doesn't that, like, make it less entertaining? And my perspective on it is, yeah, that does reduce some of the crazy randomness that can occur. It does indeed do that. But I'm willing to compromise and sacrifice that meme. That dank memes that can happen from us having to fight through those challenges, question mark. If it means that these players that actually wanted some duty completed gets their duty completed. Like that for me, that's what matters. That's also something that I found extremely funny when I made the video on how to optimize for Mentor Roulette. Where I went over as a tank, you could make a gear set that has like a heavy amount of tenacity. It will help. It can help. It can make the difference. You can get like 20% damage reduction just passively from doing that. But you need the correct items. And you can bring potions. And as a healer, you could have like a piety set. So you can have so much MP that you might be able to almost spam things like Medica 2 or 3. You could do that. And as a DPS, well, most DPS can't do very much about that, but a red mage could, for instance, stack determination, question mark. I don't know if that would help. So that they could get more consistent healing. No, that wouldn't help. The only thing a job like red mage could do is go, I'll avoid directed and have more determination so that I can heal more, but it probably won't help. A summoner, for specifically like level 50 duties or so, maybe some 60 duties, probably not, but some 50 duties could bring the PvP gear that has mind and intelligence and strength on it. And the strength will help you by compensating the lack of secondary stats by making your auto attacks better. And the mind will make physics stronger. And then you can help with healing if your healers are completely unhelpful. Like if they just can't do it, if they're not up to the task, then you have something. You can do something. And some people, not many, but some people actually commented that mentors shouldn't be making specialized gear sets for this because it'll make a weird give players weird expectations about what other players can do, as if they're like, no, it has to be a punishment to do mentor roulettes. I had to do mentor roulettes in snow both ways, uphill, so you have to too. You can't be well prepared. While the whole point was that it makes you able to clear duties more reliably, which on the one hand gives you faster mentor roulette progress, but more importantly also means that people will get their duties completed, which is what matters. So it says some mentors try to force land into guild tests, community folk helping us sprout, clear, and extreme. Exactly. It could be worse. I could be sitting, genuinely, if I actually wanted to cheat on this, then what I should be doing is I should be streaming this, like, in the dead of night. And just have planned with a few friends to just be here ready to... I shouldn't be streaming it. But you know what I mean. But just grab a few friends and then in the dead of night on Chaos, because as you know, there's a little bit less people on Chaos than Light. Actually, even better, we go on Materia in the dead of night in Australia. And then I just bring 3 friends or more, and they all just queue for Under the Armor. Every one of them just queue for Under the Armor, and I queue Mentor Roulette. And the moment they see that I'm in, like, that I got a queue pop, they, like, if they didn't land in something yet, they just retract their queue, just immediately, and then just wait for me to finish. I come out, and then we try again. Because then I would massively increase my chance of landing in Under the Armor. And I'm explaining this well knowing that if you wanted to know that you could do this, you would already know this. It's not a hidden secret. Some people do this. To basically speedrun their Mentor Roulette achievement. That would be an amazing stream would watch. I might consider doing it, just testing it. I'll see if I'll ever get around to it. Just to demonstrate it. But I would probably do it for a specific time frame and then, you know, go back to something normal. And then... What do you mean, Ducky? It's my house. I would either do it briefly to demonstrate that it can be done, or I would not do it until I have the achievement already. High school recess yard. You know, it's not far off, because the inside of my house has almost like high school style classrooms. You can attack the striking dummies. Go ahead. They're there to use. It's the dancing room, Nox. What's the under the armor classroom? That's a good question. But yeah, in case in point, if I wanted to cheat, quote unquote, then I could do it way. I know exactly how to do it. Like I know it, I have the evil master plan right here, and I'm choosing to not use it. Like I'm choosing to not use it. Ducky, we're talking about how you would be able to cheese speedrunning the Mentor Roulette achievement by having friends spam guild hests to increase your odds of landing in a guild hest. It's nice, Helium. I believe Taldemar also has a Tenacity tank gear set on hand for a similar reason. Oh, I also saw Travis saying, I assume 99% of Sprouts have no idea what gear I'm wearing or what material I'm using anyway. Exactly, although when you get synced down, your material wouldn't matter anyway. But yeah, exactly, like the argument of no, don't over optimize as a mentor. You'll make players have weirdly high expectations for what other people can do in a duty. I'm just saying we're already there. These expectations are already there. There already are rampant, exaggeration for comedic effect, white mages doing Porta de Comana and not healing the tank because, well, this other time I did the duty, the tank didn't need healing. Actually, Sylvia, if you find the optimized mentor gear set thing video that I made, that one I'm pretty sure I actually have a suggested example. It's not updated for 7.4, but you also have that one. Tell them I can also share their set. That theirs should be more updated than mine, but let's just say I have an example. I do that too, Andriel, but there's a difference between not healing at all and optimizing. Now, we did get 13 duties. What level ranges is good for? I believe my set from the video should be optimal still for like level 90 content and below. Teldemas probably covers more, but I'm pretty sure mine was optimized for level 90 and below. The problem is if there isn't a tenacity heavy item at high enough level. And I think there's a level 93 or 94 item in the set I found or made. Anyway, on that note, if you would like to be part of the Discord community server, there's a link in the chat right there. There you'll find the weekly schedule where you can see what else is coming up in the coming days. I usually update it Sunday or Monday. You'll also find the announcement room with links to videos and streams when I put them out. And if you grab the reminder roll in the role assignments room, you get a notification whenever I post a video or stream. As well as an extra one around 15 minutes before stream starts, so you can catch it right when we go live. And if you'd like to support the channel a bit more directly, you can become a member, you can subscribe, you can follow, you can like, you can super chat, you can cheer, all that goodness. If you don't like any of that, there's also the Ko-Fi link in the chat that Ariel posted right there. It all helps support me and the channel. Sorry, it's not Ko-Fi, it's Ko-Fi. Ko-Fi, not coffee, Ko-Fi, as I learned yesterday. But the link is still there, and you can still support me directly, and it all helps me be able to focus on stuff like this with all of you, instead of having to worry about money. So thank you so much for the support. But that'll be it from me tonight. So, good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where you are in the world, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye-bye!